Hello and welcome to KCTCS News. I'm Mary Jo Perino and I'll be sharing the latest developments here at KCTCS. Spring has sprung and the 2017 legislative session wrapped up several weeks ago. Even though this was not a budget year, there was legislation affecting KCTCS. Here's Dr. Box to fill you in on what you need to know about the 2017 General Assembly.
Thanks, Mary Jo. The most important legislation for us during this session was related to our funding. A new formula called Performance-Based Funding will be used to determine how much state funding we and our four-year partners receive. A percentage of the funds will be based on certain performance measures, but because we're different from the 4 years, our performance measures are different. For the 2017 and 18 year, performance-based funding will be 5% of state funding. But this is the start of big changes. Eventually, 100% of higher ed funding in Kentucky will be performance-based. This will be phased in over the next 5 years. Performance-based funding was a big topic at the PLT planning retreat in May. The theme for this year's retreat was Driving Performance. As we enter the new realm of state performance funding, it's never been more clear that we must maintain a laser-sharp focus on achieving our strategic goals and ensuring the successes of our students. The retreat served as a time to refresh and reset, and I hope that you too can find some time to do the same this summer. Because of the retreat, you won't receive a PLT meeting summary for May, but watch your email for one from the June meeting. Another initiative coming out of Frankfort is the Work Ready Kentucky Scholarship Program. As you've heard, the scholarship is for our occupational programs and will be awarded to students seeking certificates in one of the state's high-demand workforce sectors. Students are eligible for the scholarship for up to 32 hours and must obtain at least one certificate in the designated programs during those 32 hours. KIA will oversee the scholarship, which is a last dollar award. The program begins this fall, so we have a lot to do to get ready for more students.
Thanks, Dr. Box. Sounds like a lot of changes are on the horizon. Now we're going to switch gears and talk about financial aid. Some changes are happening there as well. Here to talk about program applicability and what that means is System Director of Financial Aid, Doug Cleary.
Program applicability is a federal requirement that states that we cannot pay federal financial aid for coursework that is outside of a student's program of choice. The department does allow some latitude for colleges to have additional courses that may not be required necessarily by the program, but they might be required for a first-year experience course or a graduation requirement, and the department does allow us that latitude to have that. It just needs to be in writing as a matter of policy. So there are risks for us related to program applicability in the event of a program review or federal audit. If it was determined that scores of students had courses outside of their program of study, we could be required to pay that federal aid back. There's been some instances of schools around the country where they've had to pay back as much as hundreds of thousands and even millions of dollars related to program applicability. So this is a risk that we would face.
Thanks for that update, Doug. As you know, strategic enrollment management is a hot topic at KCTCS, and one component of SEM is retention. Here to tell us some good news on that front is Chancellor Rhonda Tracy.
Well, SEM, Strategic Enrollment Management, has a very, very critical role to play with retention, or retention with SEM. Enrollment has two prongs. Those include recruitment and retention. And while we love to go out and get new students and bring them to KCTCS colleges, once we get them, we have to keep them. And so retention becomes a very important part of the SEM plan. So we're excited about some of the strategies that are being employed out there. We see a lot of creativity, a lot of innovativeness. Well, I can't stop smiling because we did get good news when we got our numbers, our retention numbers, and we were looking at fall to spring. And we haven't always looked at that small of a window, but we wanted to this time because we had a lot of things going on in the fall. We wanted to see if they were working as we, make progress towards improving our retention numbers. When we did this, we pulled out those students who were graduating. So we were looking at the students who were eligible to return for the spring. And when we got those numbers, we were just shooting for 60% because we thought that's a pretty fair number. Looking at some of our data in the past, that seemed to be maybe obtainable, even though maybe even a little bit of a stretch. So when we got those numbers, we saw that all of our 16 colleges, the average for all of our colleges was 62% retention from fall to spring. That's probably one of the highest retention fall to spring rates we've had. We had colleges, when we looked at the range, as high as 74% and then down to 50%. So that was the range. But within that, a 62% average we thought was very good. Now, are we satisfied with 60%? We probably want to build that. I mean, I think 70% is achievable. So we'll continue to work on retention. We'll continue, the colleges, I'm sure they have so many exciting things going on. We'll continue to support and impress that retention is just as important as recruitment for enrollment.
Thanks for that report, Dr. Tracy. The college websites have been undergoing major changes, but not ones you can see. The System Office Web team has been working with the colleges to move all website content from the old content management system to a new one called OU Campus. Jay Thacker from Big Sandy was part of the planning team for the big change. Here's Jay to explain why OU Campus is so much better than the old CMS.
We really needed to upgrade our web software because our old software was so out of date we couldn't even use it on our modern computers in our offices anymore, which made that a huge security risk. With OU Campus, it's much better supported and allows us to use new modern features to provide a much easier to use website for our students. It also allows us to make responsive websites, which are websites that are just as easy to use at your desktop as it is on the phone in your pocket. We're really looking forward to all the tools and abilities that using OU Campus will provide us.
Thank you, Jay. In other tech news, Technology Solutions will soon introduce a new option called MyPath, which will make it easier to sign into all your KCTCS accounts that require a password. To tell us more, here's Matt Varney, who along with Amy Coleman created it.
MyPath is a single sign-on solution that allows us to jump between systems and among systems without having to log back in again. It's better because right now everything's in all these different places and you have to remember unique passwords, sometimes how to get to those places. So in MyPath you have one list of systems, you click on a button and you're logged into the other system. Easy. MyPath will roll out in July to employees initially. You'll hear about it through the Scoop and other normal channels, and then in the fall, when the students come back after they've settled in, we'll do a more formal push to them.
Thanks, Matt. Anything that simplifies technology and saves time is pretty great. Well, that's a wrap for this edition of KCTCS News. Until next time, I'm Mary Jo Perino.